in the BPTV studio. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. Welcome back, Chip Hayner. Smoking Jim Frazier, a.k.a. Stevie Wonder, is still with us. He's hanging in there. We got plenty of sports to talk about today. Thanks for watching us on Comcast 7, only in Bethel Park. On Verizon 32, thanks for watching us in Bethel Park and all the way from Nemacolin to Cranberry, Wexford, and all points in between. Thanks for all your Facebook likes. 6,873 likes on Facebook. We appreciate that. And we got some promos here that I want to put out there. First off, thank you very much to Olive Oil's Pizzeria, 412-831-1900 Hillcrest Shopping Center. Even Smoking Jim Frazier knows where they're at. He's bought a couple $5 pizzas. No $5 today, but they have a lot of great pizza and hoagies, Italian food. They had lasagna lasagna yesterday, a lasagna dinner for $5.
Was that mailbox lasagna?
No, this was lasagna at Olive Oil's Pizzeria on Brookline Boulevard. So check that out. Go there. They got a lot of great folks working up there, and enjoy their food. Next up, Bethel Park Historical Society, 2600 South Park Road. It's the old schoolhouse with the old trolley right in front. You can't miss it. And my favorite tea shop, Reginald's Coffee, was up there last week. Got a picture with Bill Haberther, director of the Bethel Park Historical Society. Thanks for liking our page, and it was great green tea. I enjoyed it. Next up, the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation. Poor Joey Fabus didn't make it to his 10th birthday. He had DIPG, a dreaded brain cancer, took his life before he was 10 years old. His family the last 4 years has raised over $100,000 with different events. You can see their flea market. They have a 5K, 1 mile run every September. They have a night at the races with horses and stuff. It's great stuff, different auctions. So check them out, the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation. Next up, the Bethel Park Community Foundation. I'm a trustee on the board there. We meet every couple months. If you have groups that need money in Bethel Park, we have money. $100 to $5,000. Get an application. Come to one of the meetings, explain why you need the money, and you can get some money here right in Bethel Park for your group. Next up, Dave Cable makes a little fun of me at times. He put my face on Uncle Sam. I want you for BPTV. Tell them Uncle Al, the Talking Machine, wants you. 412-831-3304. You can work on audio. You can work on video. You can work on location. You can work in a studio. We got Zach here and we got Steve here doing our work tonight. They're doing a great job. Look at how this looks on TV. Thank you very much. Call Dave Cable, 412-831-3304. Next, What's on Your Mind is sponsored by Skeets Lewandowski of Skeets Service Station. Red, white, and blue station, past Mineral Beach, past Trax Farm. And you can give them a call, 724-348-4715. Hopefully Steve will get that door that's open up to the office closed. He's left that. But we're ready to start the show. He sponsors What's on Your Mind. And I got to ask Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And if you want the green,
don't break it.
You got to see Levine catching like my man James Washington, who's going to have a great year this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Who said so?
They're going to have another prolific offense. But what's on my mind is, I took a lot of heat in 2012 when I predicted that R.G. Mee would be an NFL bust. Well, he broke his thumb on his throwing hand today in practice, and it looks like it's the very end of his career. He's probably fighting for a third team backup spot. But RG3, second pick overall in 2002, Heisman Trophy winner. At one time, his senior year at Baylor, he had more touchdown passes than he had incompletions. So everybody said he was a can't-miss superstar Hall of Famer. I was the only one that said he'd be an NFL bust, and he is an NFL bust.
Hey, and do you credit that to Mike Shanahan and the way he ruined him?
No, Shanahan actually did a great job with him, but he was going to be a bust no matter how well he did his first year, and he did good his first year. And my
Until
draft
that injury.
No, that had nothing to do with it. In my draft report, I compared him to Cordell Stewart. It was guys who had never received any criticism in their life. And when you play quarterback, whether you're Terry Bradshaw, Peyton Manning, you're going to get booed by the fans. The fans is going to turn on you at some point, and they don't have the makeup personality-wise to handle that, and that's what happened to RG3. He went into a shell just like Cordell Stewart. They never been booed before. RG3's wife left him.
Did she?
Yeah, the whole
How do you find this stuff out?
He just came apart.
You can't see, but you can hear, I guess.
You got to be a Chip Hayner to play quarterback. You got to have tough skin. If you don't have tough skin, you're not going to play quarterback position that well. And is it true? Is it true that the Pirates are 14 games under 500? I didn't really realize that. I know you've been gone.
Little disclaimer. The Pirate Hater took a couple minutes to come out. Smoking Jim didn't find baseball until 8 years ago when we debuted on our show.
I know Chipper's been ducking us for 2 weeks.
No, they're 2-14 since the All-Star break.
Okay.
So and I haven't given up on
Does
them.
that include the 9-game losing streak?
Yes, and the streak ends tonight.
Ends tonight, and then it'll start up again the next
Well, I don't know.
day.
It'll probably start the next time Archer pitches. Batting
Yeah.
But, hey.
What was your point about that, Smoking
Well, the
Jim?
one thing we realized, I predicted that, as usual, after the All-Star break, the Pittsburgh Pirates would shut it down and collapse, and that's what they're doing right now. And they've been tanking on the fans. They've been quitting on the fans for nearly 30 years, but still this organization gave a lifetime losing coach Hurdle a 4-year extension. So I guess you just get what you ask for. And finally, rest in peace, my good friend. I don't know if you guys heard about the guy who worked at the reverend that worked at the homeless shelter.
I did.
Yes,
That
I
got
did hear
killed.
about
That was
him.
A good friend of mine, Sheldon Stottenmeyer. He was a great boxer back in the day, fought overseas, and he opened a gym in Clareton, which he couldn't help anybody there. But they had some good coaches over there. But the pupils in Clareton did not want to be helped. But he had a great street ministry and did
They
some
wanted
great
to
things.
homeschool.
Yeah. So that was a waste of time trading them guys in Clareton. But hey, rest in peace. He had a great street ministry, and it's just a shame that everybody got guns now, man.
Really?
Yeah. So
That is terrible.
So that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smoking Jim Frazier. Chip Hayner, what's on your mind?
Well, it's good to be back for everybody. Had a couple of weeks off from the show due to my daytime endeavor. Got to pay the rent some way. But anyhow, I'm back this evening, and I'm pretty excited about the next couple of months here. We've got the Steelers in training camp. And what I like about the Steelers in training camp, I like drama-free training camp. We don't have, we've gotten rid of the 2 prima donnas on the team, and I guess maybe another one may poke his head up. But, and now the ball's in Ben's court because now it's up to him to prove that he truly is a Hall of Fame quarterback. And I think Ben's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder, no pun intended. And you know, and I think we're gonna have an exciting season to watch, and I think more importantly, it's going to be watching the Cleveland Browns fall flat on their face once again, because you know, as Cleveland fans usually always do, they always put the cart before the horse. Well,
Chip, you're talking in front of a Cleveland fan.
I know,
Okay.
I know, and you know
You're
what?
straight up with that.
You know,
I like that.
You know, hey, last year the Steelers had, on paper, they had the best running back in the NFL. They had the best wide receiver in the NFL. They had a Hall of Fame quarterback, and they didn't make the playoffs. So,
How does
yeah,
that
I
happen?
mean, so you know, well, but, you know, you don't win the game on paper, you win the game on the field, and we'll see how all those egos mesh. In Cleveland, they seem to handle failure pretty well. I don't think they'll handle success very well. So,
Wow.
that's what's on my mind. The Pirates are stumbled into the cellar after the All-Star game, and I do want to make note of that, and we will discuss some of the pitfalls of the Pirates and some of the things they might consider doing. We've also got the Major League trade deadline is
Yeah.
tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And the thing that is significant about this, up until this year, what would happen is you would have the non-waiver trade deadline, which was July 31st. And what that meant that you could trade anybody to any other team if you made an agreement with them and the player did not have to clear waivers. Then up until August 31st was the waiver trade period, where if you wanted to make a trade with somebody, they had to clear waivers first before the trade could be consummated. Well, the Major League Baseball has done away with the second trade deadline. So there's only one trade deadline, and no trades are to be made after the 31st of July. So there will be some things happening. Right now, Neil Huntington's in a game of poker with the general manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we'll see who blinks. But we'll get to that in Pirate Talk. But excited about what's going to happen. Still 2 months of baseball season left. A lot of baseball yet to be played. I know Jim wrote off the Pirates in February, but that's okay.
He needs them under
the season
78.
The season runs from
He
April.
needs under 78 wins. He's rooting for it heavily.
Yeah, he's praying. But he's going to try to make up some of those losses.
That $20 he got bet
But,
on there. You know?
I'm looking forward to this summer. You know, Penguins get into training camp here in about another 5 or 6 weeks. So a lot of things are going to be happening in a short period of time. But that's what's on my mind.
Can I say one thing before we go to
As long as it's
Have
short.
we ever been able to
long
stop
as
you?
long as it's short and positive.
I got guys helping me. I got Al Levine, the talking machine, that's helping me. I got Zach, my man Zach, helping me. I got the rookie of the year, Steve Fisher, helping me when he's not with Danzel. Maybe you can ask Danzel. I need to ask you this question. I need to know, have you ever known a black girl named Becky? If you have, let me know.
That's enough,
I've been
Smoking
looking
Jim.
for Becky. I'll friend her on Facebook. I may even marry Becky. If you find a black girl named Becky, you used to be a bartender. Have you ever met a black girl named Becky?
Right off the top of my head, I would say no.
No, okay.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. You brought that up the last couple weeks. You're supposed to find out for us.
And
I've been
wait,
searching.
Let me ask you a
Been
question.
searching for Becky.
What's this infatuation with Becky?
I've never met a white man with the last name of Washington, other than our founding president. And I'm looking for a black girl named Becky. I had a dream. I dreamed about a black Becky. It could be my soulmate. So if she's out there, I'll friend her on Facebook. Who
I ain't
knows?
catching that one, guys.
You guys will be in the wedding.
I just want you.
You're the best man.
I just want to have you all take a screenshot, Smoking Jim. Look at the
Is it
camera.
okay if I wear a white tie?
I want you to take a picture of smoking Stevie Wonder Frazier. Because if he doesn't look like Stevie Wonder, ain't nobody look like Stevie Wonder.
Ali.
He's lying to you. Ali was tall and thin. My man is not. He looks Stevie Wonder, and that's his issue here. Glad we could carry on. What's on my mind? I'm watching ESPN like I do, and I hear this guy come on that I don't like, Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys. And you know he's got some BS for us because that's what he does. And he's always trying to direct the conversation about him. And he says, we don't need a championship running back to win a Super Bowl. Oh, who's holding out? Ezekiel. Ezekiel Elliott's holding out 2 years before his contract's up. He caught Jerry Jones by surprise. They don't know what to do. He's in Cabo, working out in Cabo, trying to keep that belly down like he got. But here's Jerry Jones talking on why you don't need a running back that's been a champion. Well, the first team that ever had a championship running back win the Super Bowl was Emmett. And now all of a sudden he's bringing the ghost of Emmett up, but his own guy is the reason their offense even does anything. You know, I don't want to even get in the details with it.
You mean that we should stop working on Dak's bust for the Canton?
Well, I would tell you to do that, but they fumbled his bust. Just like he does. They fumbled his bust, and nobody can pick it up.
Zeke already has a contract, and Dak is the one that's in his 4th year that needs to be signed. And
Exactly.
Is he a $100
Ezekiel
million quarterback?
No. I give Ezekiel Elliott all the credit in the world here, but as he found out with Le'Veon Bell taking off for a whole year, it does not help your negotiating position. The only thing that will help your negotiations is Jerry Jones wants a winner in Dallas, and he is a smart guy, and he knows he has a running team. He can't count on the passer.
Well, you know what? If he learns anything from Le'Veon Bell, keep the jewelry in the safe.
There's too many things to learn. He may forget that. That's what's on my mind. We'll be back with some fiction and fact from Smokin' Jim's Almanac.
Bethel Park Inline Hockey. It's fast, it's fun, and we want you to play. Inline hockey is just like ice hockey, but no ice, and significantly less expensive and far less of a time commitment. Way less travel than ice hockey, too. The sport is played on a specialized rink at the Bridgeville Rollerplex, RMU Island Sports Complex, Harmerville's Alpha Arena, Hot Shots Indoor Sports Arena, and the Murraysville Sports Zone. Our teams play in the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Roller Hockey League, or the PIRHL. Each year, teams from elementary, middle, and high school play a 16-game schedule, plus playoffs, from October through March. Practice one evening a week and games on Saturdays or Sundays. The sport is recognized by the Bethel Park School District, which means student athletes can earn a letter once they reach high school. We play rivals such as Upper St. Clair, Peters Township, Canon-Mac, Pine Richland, North Hills, and so many more. This is no pickup game. You'll need regulation pads, hockey skates, helmets, and the coolest Hawks uniforms around. 2 refs at every game officiate 3 15-minute periods with a running clock. No icing, no offsides, no checking, but this sport will rock you. Registration is coming up, so check out our website at www.bpinlinehockey.com and sign up soon. Let's play!
Hey, it's Christine from Bethel Park Library. I want to tell you about a great fundraiser we have going on. You can take home a print of this cute sloth painted by local artist Maria Prasic, was inspired by Vivian, the sloth that lives at the National Aviary. The original painting will be housed at the Bethel Park Library forevermore, but you can own a 16 by 20 print for $50. You can purchase it at the Bethel Park Public Library or through the library's website at bethelparklibrary.org.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. Thanks, Chip Hayner. Thanks, my main man, Zach. Thanks, Rookie of the Year, Steve Fisher. And a Shout out to my Monroeville brother that's on vacation, little Z, Zach Taylor.
He's from Bethel Park.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll never go to Monroeville.
Did you see his mom in the paper, in the Sunday paper?
I missed that.
I didn't get the paper.
The almanac.
Either. It's almanac, and she was in the
No,
Post
I
Gazette.
missed it. I don't get the paper anymore. They couldn't deliver it to my house, so I didn't get it.
I get it digitally. I get on my
Oh, do you?
Kindle. Yeah.
Well, I forget that. I
They're going to
forget
go
that.
all
Still the
digital.
yeah,
They're all
70.
going to go digital pretty soon.
I'll talk to you at the next person, Rick.
But what's the fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac? And since there's training camp here, I'm going all the way back to 1996.
Whoa.
Pittsburgh Steelers was in need of running back. Bam Morse was in trouble with drugs again. Tim Worley was out of the league.
That was just for personal use.
Just for personal use. So, Barry Foster was gone. And I wanted in that draft bad the A-Train. Mike Allstott from Purdue, 6'1", 250 pounds. Of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers made a trade because, of course, they're not going to pick a white running back because of reverse discrimination. You look around the league, very few white running backs. They passed on Mike Allstott. The trade for Jerome the Bus Bettis, who was coming off the worst year of his career with the Rams. They thought he was done. They had a coaching change. Jerome Bettis looked like he was uninterested in football. And the great Tom Donahoe made a trade for Jerome Bettis. So I just happened to be at a nightclub in McKees Rocks that was owned at the time by my good friend Chuck Sanders. And it was packed with some good-looking women. And who walks in there but the new Steeler, Jerome Bettis. Comes in, he got the ice all over, he got the diamond ring on his pinky finger, and then he had that $1 million smile. So I'm like, okay, Jerome Bettis is trying to fit into the community. I go up to training camp, and I remembered Jerome Bettis, who was the NFL Rookie of the Year. He ended up being in one of them superstar competitions for running backs, and they had Herschel Walker and Metcalf and all these guys in it. Jerome Bettis caught the ball as well as they did, and they were great receiving running backs. And I was like, wow, because all you seen Jerome Bettis do at the time at Notre Dame, he was a fullback. He could run, but he was a blocking back. Most people didn't even know he could play tailback in the NFL. The Rams took a chance on him because they had Ricky Waters playing halfback, and of course, the Rocket Ishmael.
Yeah.
I think he might have even won the Heisman. So Jerome Bettis comes to training camp, faking a sports asthma. but that year,
He's known to have
that
asthma.
year he didn't fake it because it was his first year, so he was in shape. And I never forget they were doing backs on backers. And Greg Lloyd was eating up everybody. Greg Lloyd didn't even he had shorts on, and everybody else was in full equipment because back then you hit. But Greg Lloyd was so good, he practiced in shorts.
Wow.
And was going through every running back on the team until he came up against the bus.
Whoa.
Bus stonewalled him 2 times in a row, and I was like, oh my goodness, because one thing about Jerome Bettis, he was so underused in Pittsburgh. They never threw him the ball, although he had great hands. He didn't have to block since he was a tailback. He might have been the greatest blocker in the NFL during his career. Of course, he could run when he was in shape, and probably his best position coming out of high school, and I've interviewed Jerome Bettis several times, when he was with the Steelers, was a linebacker. He was a great linebacker, but his coaches talked him into playing running back in college because he was only 5'11".
Well, he got into the Hall of Fame for that.
He got into the Hall of Fame.
Must have been good advice.
Good advice, but he always tells me, I think I could have made it as a linebacker too. But that's what's on my mind. Fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. I wanted the A-Train. They both made the Pro Bowl 6 times in their career. I love the A-Train. But again, in the National Football League, if you're white, you're not going to be able to play running back, cornerback, outside linebackers. There's a lot of positions that you're unable to play in the National
Yeah,
Football
but you
League
wanna
if
know
you're
what
white.
they-
And if you're black, you can't be a long snapper.
Okay.
You can't hold for kicks.
How
or
did
be
you
a
discover
field goal
this
kicker or a
racism?
punter.
How'd you discover this racism?
But there is no prejudice in the Hall of Fame because you can be white and enter the Hall of Fame. Jerome entered the Hall of Fame, and I don't think it was a bias.
No, it was a great move by the great Tom Donahoe. It was a great trade, one of the greatest
he-
trades.
Oh, did
he-
him and your best buddy had many an
He
argument
rode the
there.
bus straight
Whatever.
to Canton.
Whereas two guys that got fired by the Steelers that both did a great pick. Tom Donahue, who got fired by the Steelers because he couldn't
That's
get
'cause
along
Cowher.
with Cowher.
Backstab.
He got Bettis, and Art Rooney, the son of the chief, Art Rooney Jr., ended up pulling the trigger on Franco Harris before they fired him because he couldn't pick nobody else good. But he stuck his neck out for Franco Harris right around the time the Steelers wanted to sign Joe Paterno. So they spent a lot of time on Penn State's campus, so trying to butter Paterno to be a Steeler coach.
Didn't work out.
But they ended up saying,
Good thing I didn't because,
Franco
yeah, Jerry Sandusky, could you imagine what he would have done in that Steelers locker room?
that's cold.
He might not have gone very far. He might not have gone as far.
Artie Burns would have been starting.
Thank you, Smoking Jim Frazier.
Evening, everybody. And I touched on something a little earlier. Tomorrow's the trade deadline.
Yeah.
So I decided to take a little trip down memory lane, and I am going to go over some of the worst trades in Pirates history.
Wow.
Okay.
Smoking Jim will know 90%
A
of them.
lot of people,
Don't worry.
will argue that the Chris Archer trade from last summer could rank as one of the worst trades in Pirates history.
Recent history.
Don't know if it is. History will write the tale on that. But I'm going to go all the way back. See, Jim went back to 96. See, I went back to the year my mother was born. Wow. November of 1928.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, she was born in January of that year. Outfielder Kiki Kyler to the Cubs for infielder Sparky Adams and outfielder Pete Scott. This is what happens when you trade a player just to get rid of him. Kyler was the Pirates' big star until Paul Wainer came along.
Wow.
As the best player on a World Series winner, he'd set the franchise's single-season record for total bases in 1925, a record that still stands.
Wow.
Apparently, though, he couldn't get along with the manager, Donnie Bush, possibly or possibly not, because he didn't want to bat second. Kyler went on to the second half of a Hall of Fame career with the Cubs. He batted .360 in 1928, .355 with 155 runs in 1930. Adams had 2 bad years for the Pirates. Scott spent 1 year for them as a fourth outfielder, never played in the majors again. To top it off, a few months later, the Pirates sold 21-year-old shortstop Joe Cronin to a minor league team. Cronin went on to a Hall of Fame career with Washington and Boston. Wow. So the next trade up on the bar happened in just after the end of World War II, September of 1946. Third baseman Bob Elliott and catcher Hank Carnelli to the Boston Braves for second baseman Billy Herman, right-handed pitcher Elmer Singleton, outfielder Stan Wenzel, and infielder Whitey Whittleman. I'm not sure why the Pirates traded Elliott, as he was the mainstay in their lineup, putting up a good OPS of 119 in 8 seasons, and they go into some other stuff. Basically, it was a trade that produced nothing for the Pirates. They got nothing in return. December of 1947, just to prove that the year before wasn't a fluke, the Pirates traded third baseman Billy Cox, infielder Gene Mauch, right-handed pitcher Preacher Rowe to Brooklyn for right-handed pitcher Hal Gregg, left-handed pitcher Vic Lombardi, and outfielder Dixie Walker. Some teams have been better at getting rid of players than the Pirates. Walker was a veteran who was Brooklyn's most popular player, but he asked to be traded because he didn't want to be on a team with Jackie Robinson. Wow. He had one solid season and one weak season with the Pirates and then retired. So once again, short end of the stick there. Next, we'll go all the way to 1966. This is in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Might even be in Smoker Jim's. No, he just celebrated his 29th birthday. My bad.
Again.
Okay, the 1966 left-handed pitcher Wilbur Wood to the White Sox for left-handed pitcher Juan Pizarro. You'd think a team whose longtime relief ace threw a forkball would have appreciated a knuckleballer. Pizarro had a string of good seasons as a starter with the White Sox in the early 60s, but struggled with the Pirates and was sold to Boston in the middle of the next season. 1967, December. Right-handed pitcher Harold Clem, Woody Fryman, Bill Laxton, third baseman Don Money to Philadelphia for right-handed pitcher Jim Bunning.
Wow.
In the mid-'60s, a lot of people thought the Pirates couldn't get over the top because they lacked an ace pitcher. And the Pirates of the 60s were perennially in contention.
Yeah.
With Roberto Clemente, a young Willie Stargell, Matty O'Lou, the list goes on and on. This was their attempt to get one. Clem never reached the majors, and Laxton did nothing of note. Fryman's career lasted another 15 seasons with a lot of ups and downs. Money had one good year, 3 bad years with the Phillies, but had a long string of above-average seasons as Milwaukee's starting third. The Hall of Famer Bunning went 14-23 with below-average ERAs in his 2 seasons with the Pirates, and then went on to an often bizarre career as a U.S. Senator. December of 1970, right-handed pitcher Bruce Del Canton, Jerry May, shortstop Freddie Patek to Kansas City for right-handed pitcher Bob Johnson, Jim Campanis, and shortstop Jackie Hernandez. I think a lot of people consider this trade worse than it actually was. Del Canton's career lasted 7 years, during which he was more or less an average pitcher as both a starter and reliever. May lasted as a backup catcher for 3 years. His hitting collapsed. Patek was the Royals' starting shortstop for 9 years. And Jackie Hernandez was also the starting shortstop on the 1971 Pirates World Series winning team. Wow. Hernandez alternated at short with Gene Alley for 2 years and played there every game of the postseason in 1971. So I stayed.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
December of 1975, second baseman Willie Randolph, right-handed pitcher Doc Ellis, left-handed pitcher Ken Brett to the Yankees for right-handed pitcher Doc Medich. At one point, the Pirates had Randolph, Dave Cash, and Rennie Stennett all lined up to be Mazeroski's heir. They traded Cash for Ken Brett and Randolph in this deal, and then Stennett never recovered from a broken leg after this trade. Brett had a few solid seasons left, but nothing great. Ellis went 17-8 the next year, and then had one more solid season before his career went downhill. I guess he must have run out of the trip. In the space of a few years, the Pirates gave away several pitching prospects who went on to good careers for no return.
Don't bring these up.
July 1977, traded Rick Honeycutt to Seattle for Dave Pagan. 1980, traded right-handed pitcher Larry Anderson to Seattle for right-handed pitcher Odell Jones. In 1981, they traded Dave Jorvecki to San Diego for Bobby Mitchell. 1980, and this was after the team that won the 79 series. The Pirates traded Bert Blyleven, who had possibly the best curveball I have ever seen in my lifetime.
It was well known.
The Pirates traded Bert Blyleven, catcher Manny Sanguin to Cleveland for catcher Gary Alexander, right-handed pitcher Victor Cruz, Bob Alchinko, and Rafael Vasquez. December 1984. Not a very good month for the Pirates. It was especially not a good time to trade for veteran outfielders. Catcher Brian Harper, left-handed pitcher John Tudor to St. Louis for Steve Barnard, and outfielder George Hustle Hendrick. The stories go on and on. Shortstop Dale Barra, outfielder Jay Buhner, and left-handed pitcher Alfonso Polito to the Yankees for shortstop Tim Foley and outfielder Steve Kemp. This was at a time when the Pirates were on the verge of being moved out of Pittsburgh because of the drug trials. And the drug trials in Pittsburgh are probably the single biggest reason why Dave Parker is not in the Hall of Fame.
Sure. Wow. He was one of the greatest ball players for a number of years. That's what's shocking by this.
Yeah, well, and and he did put up numbers. I mean, if you see, the argument is, and a couple of weekends ago, the players were inducted into Cooperstown. That's the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Harold Baines' career statistics kind of match Dave Parker's, and the argument is Dave Parker should be in the Hall of Fame. I have a better argument. Before Dave Parker gets in the Hall of Fame, Al Oliver needs to be in the Hall of Fame because his numbers, you look at his numbers across the board, they're better. He did it over a longer period of time, and he wasn't tainted with any scandals.
He didn't have the arm, though, that Parker had.
Well, Dave Parker did have a good arm.
Great arm.
But Al Oliver could play a lot of different positions. He could play any one of the three outfield positions, and he was an awesome first baseman. But, of course, anybody can play first base, right?
Yeah. According to Smoke.
Okay, we've got two more here. 1998,
Mm-hmm.
December of 98, the Pirates traded right-handed pitcher John Lieber to the Cubs for outfielder Brant Brown. Lieber was slightly above average workhorse, started for 6 years at the Cubs, Yankees, and Phils. Brown was supposed to be the answer in center field for the Pirates, but he fell off a cliff and lasted only 2 more years.
One question. Isn't there anything between 92 and 98 that you could read?
Nothing here. 92 and 98. Let's see.
Why?
Bonilla, Andy Van Slyke, Barry Bonds, they weren't traded?
We're talking about the worst trades.
They
You missed that.
Okay, and what could be
With your glasses on, Stevie, you missed that.
or now to get back to and now this is probably considered one of the worst trades ever. And like I said, the Chris Archer trade, it looks bad.
Yeah.
Okay, just straight up, it looks bad. And we'll talk about that in Bucko Talk. But July of 2003, the Pirates traded outfielder Kenny Lofton, third baseman Aramis Ramirez to the Cubs for infielder Jose Hernandez, Bobby Hill, and Matt Brubeck. The trade was ordered by Kevin McClatchy to rescue the team from his financial mismanagement. The Pirates immediately released Brubeck, who never reached the majors. Hernandez was awful the remainder of the year, then returned as Jim Tracy's pet 3 years later and was awful again. Hill was a prospect who flopped. Ramirez had a long and very good career, probably in part as a result of getting away from Pittsburgh, where his career had mishandled to a staggering degree. Even if Ramirez hadn't been included, it still would have been a bad trade, as Lofton was a solid player for another 4 years. Incredibly, the Pirates threw in money. Even more incredibly, David Littlefield insisted publicly that the trade was justified by baseball considerations. So, the point I want to make after all this, because of the mismanagement of people like Kevin McClatchy and the owners before him, the Pirates were always on the verge of being moved, and they were always on the verge of financial collapse. And that's one thing that hasn't happened as long as Bob Nutting's been the owner of the team. I don't know why that's a bad thing, but
People perceive it as that.
well, it depends on the narrative that people are
Bottom
directing.
line, Bob is what he's
Well,
known as.
I mean, if
Look
all,
at Smoking Jim.
when people talk about the Pirates, it never goes more than 2 or 3 sentences before somebody makes some comment about the money they spend or they don't spend. Why? It should be about the play on the field, but I'm just I'm like that.
Well, thank you, Chip Hayner. Appreciate that. On location. Mark your calendar for August 12th, Olive Oil's Pizzeria. We'll be there, 930 Brookline Boulevard. Great food, great drinks. You know, they got Italian ice there. Even Smoking Jim's had an Italian ice there.
I was
Can't
going to
beat
say,
it.
yeah, even just Smoking Jim had an Italian.
Yeah. He didn't know it's made by white people, but that's all right. Not that he's racist or anything. He just points out the white and black in the neighborhood in case you miss it. But we're okay with that. We'll have great guests coming in. A lot of sports to talk about. That'll be the 12th. The 19th, we'll be back at 605 North Avenue, the VFW 118 in Millvale. We'll be back there again, 7:30 to 8:30 on the 19th for another show with Jose Caraballo and his Ray Schaefer Boxing Association and whatever guests that he brings up there for us. So we'll have some fun then. So stay tuned for that. A couple shows coming up with that, and there's a couple others in the works. We'll see what happens with that. But we could be on location in a couple different locations. So we'll find out. Stay tuned. Keep watching our shows. Was in the new remodeled Aldi's the other day, and I'm looking around. They got all this produce up there, and there's an old guy in front of me, and I go, "What do you think of the new store here?" And he goes, "I like watching your show."
Wow.
An older guy.
Wow.
Mr. Kraft. So shout out to Mr. Kraft. He watches our show, says, "Thank you guys for doing it." I go, "We've been doing it 8 years." He goes, "I didn't know it was on that long, but I've been watching you."
Yeah.
So
He's
there
getting
I
ready to
am.
live stream a couple of seasons.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a fan right there in Aldi's doing it. So keep on watching. Thanks for all the great feedback we get here in Bethel Park and wherever else we see people that watch sports. We'll keep doing it, and we have a lot of fun. And, we'll be back talking some Bucko talk.
Hey, you ready?
Of course I am.
What are you waiting for?
I was waiting for you. So we're gonna continue the puppy thing real quick.
Okay, places everyone. In a minute! Do I have to do everything myself?
You can't do it all by yourself.
I have to say that
Sure I can.
no, he can't. And neither can I. So why don't you come on down to BPTV and help us make some of the great community programs you see on this station every day?
Yeah.
I mean, we can help you make your TV show ideas a reality.
It's pretty awesome.
So come on down. I mean, I am pretty good, but I'm sure I could use your help.
Bucko Talk. I'm as disappointed as any Pirate fan out there. I've been hopeful all year. It's tough when you see them only win 2 games after the All-Star break. We're going to expect good things and bad things when all your pitching staff has been hurt and injured, and Taillon may not come back. Polanco may not come back. You understand these injuries. The bright spots that I see are some of the young players that we got up here. Look at Reynolds, Newman. You got some great guys out there. Some of the other pitchers that came up, there's some great potential there. And I'll let Chip fill in some of the blanks since he bleeds that black and gold Pirate stuff and drank their Kool-Aid and still drinking it. I'm just sipping it.
Well, right now the Pirates are in a pretty severe tailspin. And, and as with any winning streak, the same thing holds true for a losing streak. Every game you lose gets you 1 game closer to the game that ends the streak.
Hidden Vigorish.
Yeah,
The Gunner.
quoting the Gunner. But, what has led to the Pirates' failures since the All-Star game? And it appears that the Pirates are pitching batting practice. They have given up the most home runs in the major leagues since the All-Star break. I believe it's in excess of 30. And the same thing happened last night. We brought up a new kid. We traded Jordan Lyles. We traded Jordan Lyles for a bag of used balls and a Double-A pitcher.
Yeah.
And we really didn't come out on the bad end of that deal because Jordan Lyles, his ERA in the month of July was 15.
Yeah.
Now 15, that's averaging giving up 15 runs per 9 innings.
Yes.
That is horrendous.
It's brutal.
That is horrendous. Now, were we using Jordan Lyles the wrong way? The first 6 weeks of the season,
She was great.
he was lights out. Last year he was very effective as a reliever for the Milwaukee Brewers. So we got traded back to the Milwaukee Brewers, and that chapter of his career is over.
Yeah.
So that does put the Pirates in a bit of a wicket because with the word out on Jameson Taillon. No news yet. He went and saw the surgeon yesterday. And, is he going to need surgery on his forearm? Is he going to have another Tommy John surgery? If he does have to have surgery, not only do we lose Jameson Taillon for this year, we will lose him for next year. So that does present quite an obstacle for the Pirates. Obviously, pitching is going to be a big need
Yeah.
as we get through the winter months, which leads me to, you look at what's going on, and all you hear anymore is fire Hurdle, fire Huntington, Nutting won't spend any money, Pirates are this and that. And, I don't believe that where the Pirates are at, 1-loss record right now, you can point the finger directly at Clint Hurdle. I mean, obviously, as a manager of the team, you're responsible for everybody. I do believe changes are going to happen over this coming winter. They may even happen by the end of the year. But I think it's about time that Ray Searage moved on. I think the message is not getting through. The pitching staff has been a problem.
Like my
all
issue
year.
on the pitching staff, he got credit reclaiming people. This year, every pitcher's been hurt. I want to know why. With the same methods they're doing, that is.
Well, and that
Is it
leads
the
me to my
precise
second
pitching
thing.
that they're bringing up, the precision they want, causing it?
They fired the hitting coach last year, and the hitting improved with the new coaches.
Completely.
Okay? And I do believe that they do need to bring in a new voice, look at it through a new set of eyes. I also believe whoever is head of the trainers or
Yeah.
the medical staff,
Need to be talked to.
he needs to find a new place to work. Because, if you look at the way the pitchers were handled going into spring training, usually what happens, they get into spring training, they start throwing early. And the pitchers didn't throw for the first 3 to 4 weeks of spring training.
Sure.
So then they started stretching them out, which is what they do in the spring. And as it stands, every single pitcher and the staff has spent time on the injured list this year. Jameson Taillon said his arm wasn't right from spring training. Trevor Williams was out for 6 weeks. Chris Archer was out injured. You've got Stephen Brault that's been hurt. Joe Musgrove has been inconsistent, but here's the thing you have to understand about Joe Musgrove. He's only been a starting pitcher in the major leagues for what, 11, maybe 12 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think he's finding his way. Here's the thought: Chris Archer has been so awful this year, and there's no other way to put it. I'm not going to candy coat it. It is what it is. He's been so awful this year, and we've got him for a couple of more years of control. Now, this is what my thoughts are. What would Chris Archer look like in a bullpen? Here's a guy that's got swing and miss stuff, okay? And, maybe if he was used in a limited role like that. Now, the Pirates are on the precipice of the trade deadline. And there's a lot of talk about Felipe Vasquez as a luxury that the Pirates can't afford right now. Not financially,
Right.
but they're not a team that's winning. So what do you need a lights-out closer for? And the Los Angeles Dodgers are very much in need of a closer. The Dodgers have made it to the World Series
Yeah.
the last 2 years and failed, okay? They're leading the league in victories this year, and they need that one player to push them over the top. Now, this is what I was talking about. There's a game of poker going on between Neil Huntington and the general manager of the Dodgers, because the Pirates want the number one prospect in the Dodgers system.
Sure.
And
That'll never happen.
and right now, this kid is. They say he is the best hitter in all of the minor leagues in baseball.
He's a catcher too.
No. This
Not
is
him?
he's a shortstop.
Oh, the shortstop.
He's
okay.
and I can't remember his name right offhand. But anyhow, the Dodgers said no, and I think if the Pirates are going to trade Felipe Vasquez, I personally would not trade Felipe Vasquez unless I got somebody to overpay for him.
Sure.
I got to get a king's ransom for him, or I'm not moving.
A couple good players.
I want somebody's number one prospect, and you know what I'd also take? Their number one pitching prospect as well.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if you need them, if you don't ask, you can't get it. And if somebody isn't willing to give you what you want, you still have years of control for him.
Couple more
And
years.
you've got lights out closer. At some point, he may become tradable over the winter to get you a starting pitcher or something. So, I think just to trade Felipe Vasquez, to trade him would be foolish. But if Neil Huntington plays his cards right and does move him, you don't want to get somebody back like Chris Archer. I mean, last year, Tyler Glasnow hasn't been that much of a success project. He hasn't pitched in 3.5 months.
Right.
He's got an injured arm. But Austin Meadows made the All-Star team this year. So that was a win for Tampa.
And a win for Smoking Jim.
But, I do believe that the Pirates do have the core of a good team. Their pitching staff, yes, it is in a shambles. Trevor Williams looks like he's starting to get
Maybe a little
back
bit,
into
yeah.
shape a little bit. But, the Chris Archer,
How do you give up 6 runs in the first inning again?
well, and then here's the crazy part.
And then he shuts him down.
He gives up 6 runs in the first inning, and then he just blanks them for the next 5.
Yeah.
And had he not given up 6 runs in that first inning, we win that game.
Right.
So it's kind of tough to watch. Josh Bell struggling, but is that a product of? What is that a product
They're
of?
pitching around him.
They're pitching around him, and he's got to figure it out. Now, just to give you an update, we're playing Cincinnati tonight, and Josh Bell in the first inning hit a 2-run double. So he
might be coming back.
It could be a sign of things to come. Still leads the league in doubles.
Yeah. And
An
RBIs.
extra, 88 RBIs now with those 2 that he's put across. But Musgrove is pitching, and so far he's blanked the Reds for 2 innings. So we'll see what happens. But it's kind of tough. It's tough to watch. It's tough to hear the constant criticism. But even when they're winning, you hear the constant criticism of the Pittsburgh Pirates, because that's what the narrative is. In the media around here, and this, of course, from this gentleman to my left, is that when they win, we're going to criticize them. When they lose, we're going to laugh at them and criticize them. But
It's a tough situation.
it's a tough situation.
One thing I can say, and you and Chip, you and Al Levine, the talking machine, you guys couldn't have laid it out any better. Everything that you said was right on, but you guys continue to fail to mention that for 30 years. The curse has been on. The Sid Bream curse has been on.
No, that's no curse.
Everything you guys are talking about, it sounds like a cursed organization. It's because they are.
It's no curse. It's just like the Steelers haven't won a Super Bowl in 10 years.
You know, if you want to,
That must be a curse,
if
too.
you want to make a valid criticism, talking about stuff like a curse, like there's a voodoo doll or some kind.
I
I mean,
believe in
that
stuff.
is just
I believe it.
ridiculous. That
Superstitious.
is ridiculous.
It's superstitious.
No.
Whoever that-
Ask the Detroit Lions how ridiculous it is. It's 60 years and counting since
What curse?
Bobby Lane put the curse on them.
He was
Yeah.
drunk.
Yeah, right. You know, the only thing Bobby Lane did here as a quarterback for the Pittsburgh
did
Steelers,
good. He did good.
he drank at Dante's on Brownsville Road every Saturday night until he went to go play on Sunday.
But he won 3 world championships with
Not
Detroit.
as a Steeler.
But with Detroit. And when Detroit traded him to Pittsburgh, he put the curse on him in 1958.
Your curses are interesting,
so-
buddy,
so
but
anyhow.
there is no curse from Sid
But
Bream.
hey, on a different note, Chris Kunitz hung
Yeah.
up his skates, decided to retire. Chris Kunitz has won 4 Stanley Cups.
He was good with
He won
Crosby.
3 of them with the Pittsburgh Penguins. The 4th one he won with the Anaheim Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
And you know, he was
He's gonna
great.
coach for the
8 or 9
Blackhawks,
years.
isn't he?
He's gonna be in charge of player development, an assistant player development for the Chicago Blackhawks. He's got a job staying in the sport, but I'll tell you what, there wasn't anybody that ever had anything bad to say about Chris Kunitz
No.
and the way he played. He never took a shift off, never took a game off. That guy was he was solid.
He was competitive. He wasn't the best player in the league, but he played.
And I'll tell you what, he is the most productive player to play on the same line as Sidney Crosby in all the years that Sidney's been
Yeah,
playing
good
hockey
point.
in Pittsburgh.
Sid
So,
loved him.
Another curse organization. But
Who put that curse on?
are you guys part of the class action suit that the women's soccer team is suing because they're not getting paid as much as the guys? You guys on board with that?
Interestingly enough, I do believe that they should. Why should they not get equal pay? I mean, here's the difference between the women's team and the men's team. The women's team wins championships. The men's team loses to Mexico.
And
Okay.
here's the thing. The men's team has been around for 100 years. The women's team's only been around for 30 years.
I didn't know that.
So I don't know how you make parity with the number of years they've been around. The women's have had great success, and I give them credit for that.
But here's the interesting thing. I just read this morning because I read.
Online?
No, one line at a time. But anyhow, that over the last, I forget how long this was, that the women's team, they have awarded more prize money to the women's team than they have the men's team. And the interesting thing I find about that is that the men's team only came up a few $1 million shy of what the women's team got, and the men's team loses. And the women's team wins, but wins championships. There should be a great disparity.
But like I said, women's team's been around since the 80s.
But I
The
say
men's
equal
team
pay.
over 100 years.
I say equal pay, man. There's no reason why they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Just my humble opinion.
Well, as long as Smoking Jim's here bringing up negative stuff, I appreciate that. We're going to have to end the show. Smoking Jim, your Buccos are where they're supposed to be. You predicted it. You got to be the happiest man around in Pittsburgh. Chip Hayner, thanks for coming back with your insights, even though they were contrary to Smoking Jim.
Just the facts.
I enjoyed the facts, like I do all the time. Those worst trades, they were some bad trades, and we have a bad one now. But I want everyone to stay Joey strong.